No doubt about it. Biggest series of the year for the Yankees coming up Friday, double dip Saturday, and then Sunday afternoon against the Boston Red Sox. We needed to set the scene for what's going to happen over these next 4 games, and a lot has changed with the Red Sox from where they were at the beginning of the year to where they are right now. So in order to help us do that, my long-lost pal, not chatted with him in a while. It's long overdue. But on the eve of Yankees-Red Sox, Brian Barrett of the Off the Pike podcast. Brian, it was a given. You had to join me here, buddy boy. Welcome in. You fired up for the weekend?
JJ, I am. And to your point about this, a lot of things have changed. I was thinking about this the last time I've been this fired up about a Red Sox-Yankees series, because so often in recent history, the Red Sox have been putrid, right? Basically, since they won in 18, they had the one good year in 2021. And of course, they had the one-game playoff against the Yankees. But then last year, the Red Sox sort of turned it around. But there weren't like marquee series last year. And going back to a couple of years ago, when Garrett Cole and Devers got into it and he held up the 4 fingers, tell him to go to first. Previously, it hit him. Remember that whole thing? But at that point, the Red Sox were irrelevant. They were a terrible baseball team. And for the first time in ages, there's real stakes on the line. So I'm very excited for this weekend. The only thing that stinks about the whole process of the Red Sox and the Yankees where they're at, because it doesn't seem like, unless something happens to Tampa, that the Yankees, or hypothetically, if the Red Sox had a big weekend, I don't think either one can catch Tampa. And if I was looking at this on paper, this is the last team that I would want to play in the American League. The Central is a joke. The West is a joke.
But I would rather the feeling is mutual, Brian, because I think you're absolutely right. Like, I understand the Red Sox perspective of this, where it's like, hey, last team we want to see is the Yankees. If I'm the Yankees, the last team I want to see is the Red Sox.
Yeah, and the other component to all that is, I think from sort of, and I don't want to be a downer here, I think it's bad for the sport, because we know last year it was great that they played in the first round, and that's like the first time the Red Sox got back. But JJ, this could have potentially been an American League Championship Series. If you look at the run differential, it's not even close. These are the 2 best teams in the American League. And unfortunately, at most, you're going to get 3 games in the first round. And from just a pure rating standpoint, I know a couple of years ago, of course, you guys had the Dodgers and the Yankees. But can you imagine if we got the Red Sox and the Yankees in the ALCS? So I know they've made so many changes over the years, and they've added more wildcard teams over the recent years. But remember back in the day when there was only 4 playoff teams, and and look, obviously the Red Sox would not be in if they were going back to that rule. But remember the first round, it's like they can't play each other. The Red Sox and the Yankees could never play each other in the first round.
Which was great, by the way. I loved it.
Yeah, it was because they always, remember, it was 03 ALCS, 04 ALCS. And even in recent history, when the Red Sox and the Yankees have met in the postseason, last year, as we mentioned, it was a 3-game series. And of course, in 2018, when the Red Sox won, that was only in the first, so that was only a 5-game series. The Red Sox, of course, won that in 4. So we haven't gotten like that great Yankees-Red Sox series in years. And unfortunately, we're not going to get it this year, because unless something, like I said, crazy happens, they're meeting in the first round.
Okay. Is it a big deal to the people that you're talking to, and for you specifically, for that matter, the Red Sox catching the Yankees and the idea of a potential 3-game series being at Fenway as opposed to Yankee Stadium? I know from my side of things and the New York angle, I want no part of going to Fenway Park. Garrett Cole's terrible at Fenway Park. Weird things happen at Fenway Park. All the nooks and crannies of the ballpark. Maybe it's PTSD getting swept there each of the last 2 years. I want the series at Yankee Stadium. Has that been a big rallying cry, or are the Red Sox fans basically like, hey, just get into the playoffs and we'll see what happens?
Especially after last year that it was at Yankee Stadium. And of course, the Red Sox end up losing the final 2 games of that series. This year, everybody wants it at Fenway. Because first of all, you have to put this into context. The Red Sox started the season 10-17. They fired Alex Cora. And you know me, like, I'm a big Cora fan. But I understood at the time because the front office and the manager were not on the same page. Chad Tracy comes out of nowhere, and they weren't immediately good. They were 32-46. Then they had that incredible win streak. They had a stretch where they went 32-5. Like, that doesn't happen in baseball. That barely happens in the NBA. And the Red Sox are not some juggernaut. They're not the 2018 Red Sox, right? The 2018 Red Sox, the best team in franchise history, didn't do that. So what slowly happened at the beginning of the season, people were chanting, sell the team at Fenway. And now you go in, and I've made sure to go to the last 4 Friday home games at Fenway. That's my favorite day. My other time I really like to go to is the afternoon Fenway game. It's a 4 o'clock game unless nationally televised situation takes over, like that did last week with the Giants. I hate when they do that because that 4:00 afternoon game is awesome. It's not too early. It's not too late. But nonetheless, the Friday night games have been absolutely electric. The fans have been outstanding. So, yes, this is a thing that the Red Sox fans desperately want. And quite frankly, JJ, this is the first time that they were terrible at home for a long stretch. Now they've actually been a really good home team. And they're a very good defensive team. They have the best defensive outfield by the numbers in the league by like a country mile. So I think the fans desperately want it at home. We'll see. I mean, obviously this weekend is going to go a long way to determine if that's going to happen or not.
Okay. Red Sox. Mention Alex Cora. Gets dismissed. Everybody's making fun of the Red Sox, myself included. I'm like, you're going to fire one of the best managers in all of baseball? You're going to fire one of the true difference-making managers in all of baseball? And this happens. 32-5 in same play under Tracy. What has been the biggest difference? They were awful at home. They turned that around. Obviously, they got going from an offensive standpoint. The pitching is very good. Even without Garrett Crochet, it was built to be a team that had solid and successful pitching. But you watch the team every single day. What changed from the Red Sox dumpster fire to the Red Sox that are now this feel-good story in Boston and really all of baseball?
Well, and another component to that, Roman Anthony hasn't played. He hasn't played in months. Now he's getting close to coming back. He's doing a rehab situation right now. But for the majority of last season, from when he got called up and when he got injured prior to the postseason, he was the best player on the team. So if you said before the season, your ace is going to be bad to begin the season, then we find out, obviously, he's hurt. And the guy that came into the season projected to be your best player was going to be hurt. Everybody would have thought, hey, this is going to continue to happen. 10-17 makes sense. 32-46 makes sense. But these guys, it's really interesting to see what has changed because Wilson Contreras has carried this lineup for large stretches of the season. I wasn't the biggest fan of that trade. I understood the value of it. But my whole thing was like, all right, you wanted power. Like they were in on Pete Alonso. Remember that. They wanted Pete Alonso, although they didn't offer him like the deal that would tell you they really wanted Pete Alonso. But that was like rumored out there that they were at least talking to him. But nonetheless, so they pivot, they trade for Contreras. And I said, this guy's never hit 25 home runs. Like, so he's your answer to missing out on one of the best power bats that was available because, of course, Schwarber was out there, too. We knew he wasn't coming back after the Red Sox lowballed him the first time. But nonetheless, Contreras already has 26 home runs. He's in the top 10 of Major League Baseball in OPS and slugging percentage. In on-base percentage, he has been outstanding for this team. So that's the first thing is he's carried the lineup. The second thing is Caleb Durbin, the third baseman, who the Red Sox traded Kyle Harrison for, who was having a great stretch for the Brewers, then went down with an injury. Harrison was part of the Rafael Devers deal. Durbin, for the first couple of months of the season, was horrendous. Like, legitimately one of the worst players in the sport. He was, like, if you looked through the first couple of months of the season, he was, like, second to last in average and last in OPS. He goes to an outside hitting coach. It's like, all right, I'm not going to do it from the Red Sox hitting coaches. They tried to make him this, like, hit the ball in the air. They tried to make him the way that Alex Bregman swings. It didn't work. He goes to an outside hitting coach. Now he's a really good player, and he's probably going to win the Gold Glove at third base. He leads the American League in defensive runs saved. Abreu's had an outstanding season playing every day. I'm a little worried because he's played 130 out of the 133 games, and his career high in games is 132. He's coming into the series one for his last 21, but still, he's second since the All-Star break in home runs. Rafaela, if you look at like WAR, he's top 10 in Major League Baseball in Fangraphs version. You have two Gold Glove outfielders. They've already won the Gold Glove. And then these random guys like Mickey Gasper. He's a 30-year-old that never really played Major League Baseball. In an 8-game stretch, he hit 5 home runs. JJ, Vlad Jr. has 7 home runs in 118 games. Like, I know he's had a bad season for him, but this guy's come out of nowhere. He came up earlier this season, and he was good, and then they sort of overtaxed him because he's a catcher as well, so they had him playing a little bit of catcher, but they had him hitting leadoff, and we found out, like, he's a really good hitter against right-handed pitchers. When he goes to the right side of the plate against lefties, he can't really hit. So he's in the perfect situation just hitting against righties. And they find all these random guys like Nick Sogard. This dude has come out of nowhere. He plays second, first, and shortstop. None of these guys, by the way, the Gaspers, the Sogards, they don't strike out. Jahmai Jones, who wasn't hitting at all for Detroit, but if you look at his numbers last year, had a 970 OPS against lefties. So they bring him over, and all of a sudden he's clobbering lefties again. I get it's a small sample size, but he's been tremendous. And then really the backbone of the team has been the bullpen. And then Whitlock and Slayton go down. They trade Marcelo Meyer, who used to be their number one prospect in the organization. He's just been a headache for the team, and he's never really produced. They get this reliever, Eric Miller. This guy is absolutely filthy from the Giants, and he doesn't look like a baseball player. Like, he's huge, and I mean in every way. He's tall. He's not the thinnest man in the world. But the only issue he had in San Francisco were his walks. Now his walks are way down. Since he came over to the Red Sox, he has not given up an earned run, so he's got an ERA of 0. And his first pitch strike percentage is over 71%. Since he came here, of anybody that pitched 10 innings, it's the best in the sport. Prior to coming here, that number was south of 48%. That was last in Major League Baseball. So he went from throwing strikes, first pitch strikes at the highest rate to the lowest. So he's been good. And then Bayo moving to the bullpen after being the worst first inning pitcher that maybe we've ever seen in our lifetimes. He's been really good as well coming out of the bullpen. So, I mean, sorry, that was a long-winded way of giving you the information, but a lot has changed.
Okay. 2 former Yankees are thriving for your team. Well, actually, Durbin's another one, although he was a farmhand. I want to look at the pitching department. Aroldis Chapman's now done it 2 years in a row. It's been lights out. Absolutely lights out. Sonny Gray is the other one. Now, Sonny Gray has had success every stop in the big leagues with the exception of the Yankees. I actually blame the Yankees and the way they were trying to change the way he was pitching, far more on this narrative that he couldn't handle pitching in New York, which to me is totally overblown and just totally not true, because if it was a problem, he'd be struggling in Boston. They're a big market. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of scrutiny, and he's been great. Who has been a bigger, like, pleasant surprise for you? Is it Chapman, what he's done, or is it Sonny Gray?
I'd say for this year, Sonny Gray, because you kind of expected it from Chapman after what he did a season ago, where you could argue it was basically him and Mason Miller as the 2 best relievers in the sport. And Chapman hasn't been as good this year as he was last year. The walks are back up. And it's not just like when he was going last year, you just felt like every time it's automatic, right?
Oh, he was automatic last year, Brian. Automatic.
Yeah. It was like Papelbon. When Papelbon had his great stretch, it was automatic for the Red Sox. Kimbrel, until they got to the playoffs, he was automatic. And it doesn't feel, and look at his numbers, they're still great. So this year I'd say Sonny Gray, because I felt like the Suarez contract, I really liked it. And I said at the time, like, all right, if the decision is to sign Suarez for that over Bregman, I much rather have Suarez. Suarez has not been great for the Red Sox, and he's still not going deep into games. His last outing, he walked 4 and he hit 2 batters. He has not been good since he came off the injured list. So I thought that would be the guy. And obviously he was going to come in after Crochet, be the number 2 guy. But Sonny Gray from start to finish, Toley's had the biggest highlights, like a 14 strikeout game. And Gray threw the ball again well this week. He just was not helped by the defense. So he only gave you 5 innings, gave up 2 runs, but he was still nasty in that game. I did not expect like this. It's the rare thing when a guy goes to the injured list. He said he's only going to miss 1 start. And before that, he wasn't missing any bats. He missed basically the 1 start. He came back, and since then, he's been one of the best pitchers in the sport. He's tied for, and I know this is an old stat, but he's tied for wins. Basically, every game that he pitches, he puts you in a position to win the game. And this Red Sox team, since that marker I gave you when they started that 32-5 stretch, the 25th of June, they've scored more runs after the 7th inning than anybody else in the sport. So Gray constantly puts you in a position to win. I thought he'd be good. Like, if you looked at some of the under the hood numbers, like his ERA, it just didn't make sense what his ERA was a year ago. He was one of the guys that was hurt more so than anybody else in the sport if you look at the expected numbers versus the actual numbers. And now, with the exception of shortstop, because shortstop has just been a terrible defensive position for the Red Sox all season long, and obviously it's one of the most important positions, but he's pitching in front of one of the best defenses in the sport. So he's obviously benefited from that. But his stuff, like his breaking balls are nasty. Sometimes he'll struggle with his command for a little bit, but his breaking ball has been as reliable of a pitch as anybody outside of like Toley's 4-seamer in the rotation.
Is it fair to say, Brian, that the 4-game sweep the Red Sox had against the Yankees turned their season around?
I think that was definitely part of it. Also, Contreras getting into it with the Nationals, that kind of was like a wake-up call. Not a wake-up call, but like kind of a rallying cry for the team and Cavalli apologized after that whole situation as well. So that was part of it. But yeah, the Yankees was like, oh, okay. Yeah, and I know the Yankees were down at that particular point in time and injured, but at the same point, the Red Sox, we just didn't know if they were going to have a season. So I would say, yeah, that's certainly part of it as well in terms of that situation, just getting their confidence back that they could beat the Yankees. Because earlier in the season, it wasn't the same thing. But I would also say when they dominated the Rays in a series, it felt like, oh, okay. like the Rays have been the best team in the sport for a large stretch of the season. Not that anybody thought they were the best team, but they were playing like the best team, and the Red Sox being able to take care of both those teams. And there was a stretch where they hadn't lost a series to basically a division leader. Like they went into LA and beat up on the Dodgers, which I don't think many people expected. It's weird. Like they've had in recent games, like, or in recent series, they've lost to like weird teams. They've had series losses to like random teams. Yeah, the A's out of all teams. And it's like, oh, you're sweeping the Dodgers. You're beating up on all these first place teams. You're beating up on the Astros, although I don't think the Astros are a great team. Yet somehow when you play the A's, you struggle. But yeah, that's definitely, if you want to look at one of the turning points, that would be it. And I would also say Durbin's turnaround, and then also just the new manager, because they play a new style. Like in the month of July, they had the most sack bunts in the sport. I can tell you this, Cora would have never done that. Cora doesn't like to bunt, and they bunt, not that he doesn't like to bunt, but he would never bunt at this rate. And they do a really good job. Like, it's a very unselfish team. There was a game, it was like a week and a half ago, where Contreras was coming up with runners on first and second in the ninth inning. He sack bunted. This is the best power hitter on the team. He sack bunted, and he told Durbin before Durbin was coming up, because Yoshida, this is prior to Yoshida going down, he said, this is going to open up first base. They're not going to pitch to Yoshida because it was a righty on the mound, and you're going to have the chance to get the game-winning hit. And he did. I'm like, what 3-4 hitter in the sport would do that? Like, at the time, I'm like, this is stupid. I don't like it. And then it ended up working. But that's kind of the attitude of the team. It's very unselfish. So the interesting thing is going to be, I want no part of Trevor Story coming back. I think he can only hurt the team. And Roman Anthony, for the first time in his career, like, he had been the hero, right, of the organization. Last year he comes up, he posted a .396 on base percentage his first year here. That's, I mean, he's on base nearly 40% of the time. This year he was miserable to start the season, and there has been some controversy. I know the Red Sox deny it. He denies it. He got sent away to the team to Fort Myers. They say it was just to rehab the injury. Anyway, I don't think most people believe that, even if they keep talking about it. But the point with that is, if he doesn't play well, like, he's going to hear it, because all these like random players that nobody expected to contribute to the team have been good. So he has a lot of pressure when he comes back.
Okay. Outside of perspective, looking at the Yankees, would you be more glass half full? Hey, leading the wild card, no Judge for 3.5 months, finding ways to do it despite the fact the team hasn't scored a whole lot of runs? Or would you look at the totality of the team and say, yeah, this doesn't look like a team that could go and beat the Los Angeles Dodgers? I'll let you take this any which way you like. Would you be more glass half full or glass half empty on this current Yankee team?
I would probably, if I'm looking at it from not like what I would think about it from a Red Sox fan's perspective, but what I think about it, like their chances in the postseason in and of itself.
Yeah.
So like what I think, yeah, okay. So yeah, so I think that depending on health, obviously, because that's been an issue for them, I still think it's scary when you can have the combination of starting pitching that they've had. And I know obviously they've really struggled offensively for a large stretch, but in the American League, I don't think anybody can match that team when it's healthy from a rotation perspective. Like, think about what the Red Sox are going to throw out. They're going to throw out, I would guess, now I would go with Tolley, but my guess is Sonny Gray is starting game 1. And then Peyton Tolley, rookie, is starting game 2. And then I guess it's Suarez in game 3, although I'd be cautious about that. I mean, I was talking about this on my pod the other day with my buddy Chris Cotillo. Is there a Crochet opener for Bayo possibility? Because Crochet may be just pitching an inning or two out of the bullpen. But I don't know if anybody can match that starting rotation that the Yankees have when they're all healthy. I mean, I don't know the situation on Fried. Like, are they going to get him back anytime soon? Or
looks like he might pitch. He might be pitching Saturday against your team for a couple innings. Might be.
Oh, the second game? Really?
Possibly. Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't go deep.
And that was an elbow. That was
but
that was an elbow, right?
It was a re-aggravation of the first injury he had, but he avoided worst case scenario.
Oh, that's okay. Then, yeah, I mean, I do think they're a scary team. If that's the case, if they're going to get him back to go along with Schlittler, who we're going to see in this series, of course, he's been really good against the Red Sox most of his outings. So, yeah, I still think I would be positive about that just because of what you have in the starting rotation. And if you get the big fella back, it's...
On the subject of Schlittler, does it drive the Red Sox fan crazy that he's this Massachusetts native? He's oozing of aura. He's oozing of swag. And Brian, he takes great satisfaction in shutting down the Red Sox. Like you can tell. Like he has a little extra giddy up. He has a little extra pep in his step. He's that much more fired up when he sees that Boston uniform. Has that driven the Red Sox fan crazy since that wild card start?
Well, he was so good in that game, man. Like nobody was touching him.
Unhittable. One of the best starts I've ever seen in a postseason game. Ever.
He just shoved it down their throat. Obviously it was an embarrassing offensive performance, but it was a better pitching performance. What sort of irks Red Sox fans about him is like the stuff he was saying about, remember he was talking about how he's getting booed and stuff like in the bullpen. He was complaining about like his bullpen. Remember that? Like he complained about how he was treated when he was throwing his bullpen. It's like, that happens to like every good pitcher that comes into Fenway if the Red Sox are relevant. So I think that's what sort of irked Red Sox fans more than anybody else. And then who was he going at on social media too? It was like somebody in the media he had a back and forth with too. So I think that aggravates them more than the fact that he's from here. I don't think they care that, he's a guy from Massachusetts that is having success with the Yankees. I think it's more of like some of the stuff he's done sort of off the mound, so to speak.
Well, listen, ain't broke, don't fix it. So whatever Cam Schiller has going, I want to see a lot more of it. I have one Patriots one for you, but as a parting thought on this series, will you sign right now? I tell you, no blood. The Red Sox and the Yankees split these 4 games at Yankee Stadium. Are you taking it?
Yeah, I would take it just because of what the Red Sox have from a pitching perspective. We still don't know what it's going to be Saturday night. Bayo's going to factor in some major way in the series, and maybe that's the Saturday night game where he gets an opener. But Sandoval has been absolutely atrocious, and he's starting on Friday night. JJ, lefties are hitting 462 against this guy, and he's a lefty. Like, he's got a whip that's over 170. So I think the Yankees should beat up on him. And then Suarez, I'm concerned about, as I mentioned, and he's pitching the Sunday night game. And then you have Bennett, who's had this weird issue the third time through, which happens to a lot of young guys. And then he kind of reversed that in the last game. So he's kind of slowed down as well. So just because of who they have going, the fact that Gray's not pitching and the fact that Tolley's not pitching in this series, then yeah, if you told me they get a split, I'd be very happy with that from a Red Sox perspective. That would be a major win for them just because, like I said, like their 2 best pitchers are not factoring into the series.
It's interesting. I actually would take the exact same result because you're going to have compromised Fried. You're not going to have Cole in the series. And the Yankees don't have Aaron Judge. So at the same time, it's like, hey, get more games off the schedule. The only thing, Red Sox split with the Yankees, and I'm sure you know this. Red Sox have the tiebreaker, which could be significant if they end up with the same record. We saw that with the Blue Jays and the Yankees last year. Blue Jays won the AL East. Yankees had to play a wild card series. Red Sox, Yankees, same record. Your asses are on their way to Fenway Park. So that is a little concerning, but I would sign for the split because the big fella is a couple weeks away. Final one before we say goodbye. Patriots, crazy offseason. You add A.J. Brown, Vrabel, Rossini. In theory, the roster is better, but everything about the Patriots, easy road to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl hangovers are real. Like, look at the history of the league. Schedule's much tougher. Is this a playoff team in 2026?
Yeah, I still think so, and I still like them to win the division. I think right now they're plus 130 to win the AFC East, and the Bills are minus 130. And I would ask you this, JJ. Like, obviously, they play the majority of the same schedule. So if you look at their crossover games, the games that they don't have the same opponent, Seahawks-Rams is kind of a wash, right? Like, both those teams are really good. And the Patriots are playing them on banner night, so that could be difficult. Would you rather play the Steelers or the Ravens?
Easy. Steelers.
Patriots get the Steelers because they won that random Sunday night game at the end of the year to get into the playoffs and then embarrass themselves. Would you rather play the Texans or the Jaguars?
I'd rather play the Jaguars.
Okay. So the Patriots play the Jaguars. So those are like the things that I'm looking at in terms of the division. And the Bills went out there and they got a receiver in DJ Moore, who I would be worried about if I was a Bills fan. I know he has experience with Joe Brady, but the genius of the NFL in terms of offense right now, Ben Johnson, who's coming out saying he wants to break the points record, he didn't want that guy anymore. Like, that's kind of fishy to me. A.J. Brown is coming off a season where, yeah, he didn't get along with his quarterback, but he went for over 1,000 yards. And the Patriots' biggest issue last year in the postseason was they couldn't beat man-to-man coverage. In the past 4 seasons, he's been in the top 5 against man coverage in terms of receiving yards in 3 of those years. And last year he was 6th, and that's because he missed 2 games throughout the season. So the Patriots got better offensively too. They drafted a tight end in the 3rd round, so they may be able to use some tight end, like 2 tight end looks, which they didn't have last year. They were terrible in short yardage running situations. They brought in Reggie Gilliam, who graded out as the best blocker from the fullback position last year, and they took him away from the team that led the NFL in rushing last year, or the leading rusher in the NFL in James Cook. They bring in Gilliam. Defensively, they basically brought back much of the same group. Now, they did bring in Draymond Jones. Their biggest issue is going to be on the edge. Like, they're depending on Draymond Jones, a rookie in Gabe Akis. Harold Landry, who led them in sacks, is still out, and we don't know when he's going to come back, and obviously he's aging. And then there's this big question about Christian Gonzalez. Like, this situation should have been resolved by now. I don't know what's going on with the Crafts. Like, I don't know why they haven't got this done. I've argued on multiple occasions he's the second most important player on the team, because on the Patriots defense, because their offense sucked in the playoffs, their defense was outstanding. Even in the Super Bowl, like, Kenneth Walker had some big runs.
Kept them in the game. Totally agree. The offense was non-competitive. 100%.
What they did, JJ, they started heating everybody up. Like, Vrabel's never been a big blitz guy. If you look at all the numbers throughout their postseason run, their blitz rate would have been like #1 in the NFL, up there with Brian Flores and the Vikings. So if you're going to play that way, you need Christian Gonzalez. So, and then I will say this, and I don't know how you feel about this guy. Obviously worried from a health perspective, but I thought it was a worthy gamble going after Barrett Tucker.
Yeah, I'd be careful though. He never plays, Brian. He's
that's the thing.
If you get, and this is a huge concern I have about the Patriots going into the year, I can't expect more than 8 games out of Elijah Vera Tucker. Morgan Moses is a pro. I like him a ton. He's getting up there in age, and then Campbell. Campbell looks like an absolute stiff.
That's a major concern here. If you look at any Patriot, I would say is the most pressure on him. They also drafted a tackle with their 1st-round pick. He has not had a particularly good training camp, so we'll see if he's even the swing tackle for this team. But the offensive line was a major issue for them in the postseason, as we saw, especially like Campbell got whipped against the Texans. Like, I get no shame in that, but he got whipped against the Seahawks. If you're going to be the franchise left tackle, you got to be better than that. So that's certainly something that is a concern for this team. But I do think, just from the weapons perspective, bringing in Brown and bringing in Dobbs, I think they have more opportunities to beat man, because it was so pathetic in the postseason. Teams are just like, we're just going to stuff the box. And it's not, I love Ramondre. Ramondre was really good for the team last year. Travion had his moments, but it's not because those guys are so good. It's just like, hey, we think your line stinks. We also think our corners can just shut down your receivers. And Diggs was really good for the team, but he only played 54% of the snaps. Like, A.J. Brown played north of 90% of the snaps last year. Diggs was coming back from an ACL, and I like Diggs a lot as a player, but I just think A.J. Brown's on a totally different level. And I feel pretty confident about this defense entering the season as well. And then the other portion, I know Drake was not good in the playoffs, clearly. He was 2nd in the MVP. He did lead the NFL in completion percentage, yards per attempt, passer rating. And you can say, well, yeah, the schedule is easy. Okay, that doesn't mean that your second-year quarterback is going to lead the league in all those categories and basically have one of the most accurate downfield throwing seasons that we've ever seen. Like, his completion percentage over expectation, I know this is like a very advanced stat here, JJ.
Yeah, nerd out a little bit. It's okay. I'll allow it.
The gap between him and the guy that finished number 2 was larger than the gap between him and the guy that finished number 2 and the guy that finished 18. Like, and that doesn't have to do about the defense. It's, hey, how far is he throwing the ball down the field? Where is the closest defender, right? All those different type of things. He was one of the most accurate quarterbacks like we've seen. So I think they have a guy now. I think conservatively, he's a top 8 quarterback in the league. But I think he could easily, again, last year, he was the number 2 quarterback in the league in terms of the MVP. I think he clearly is going to play somewhere close to a top 5 level again. I just think he's that good.
This guy's a stud. Brian Barrett, he's ready for Yankees-Red Sox coming up this weekend. And if you're bored on Sunday, we're going live after the game. If you want to hop in, if you want to gloat, I feel like more likely we see you if it's a big weekend for the Red Sox than the other way around. If it's a big weekend for the Yankees, I think you might go into hiding. Keep up the good work. And it's a very good chance we're running this back in October, by the way, for a best-of-3 playoff series. So get ready.
I know, man. Cannot wait, baby. Cannot wait.
Brian Barrett, good stuff, man. We'll chat soon.